Welcome back, everybody. I want to say now, man, I want to say this is like number 12, maybe 11 or 12. I didn't count them, but so we've been meeting up every Sunday. Every Sunday. We hadn't missed a Sunday. Wow, time is passing quick. And we've been meeting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for any of you who are actually catching the video and you want to be a part of our live Tai Chi or our Tai Chi Table Talk, you can simply subscribe to the Patreon, which is a free channel, a free tier actually, and you'll gain access to the link. You'll get notification for the Tai Chi Table Talk, and you'll also gain access to other content. And if you're going to go that far, family, there's no reason you shouldn't be taking the class with us on Saturdays at 1 p.m. It's Tai Chi for beginners, or it's called Beginning Tai Chi. And even if you aren't beginning Tai Chi, I guarantee you, if you're interested in learning more, you're going to come pick up some tidbits, and you're going to meet some super cool people because we got a super cool Patreon family. So come on over and check us out, family, and let's begin some Tai Chi together. But the reason for our Tai Chi Table Talk currently is we've been discussing my teacher, Sifu Ron Hoffman, a book that is about his journey, his Tai Chi journey that started as a young man here in the USA, who actually took his journey over to Temple Tai Chi's headquarters, or the founding of Temple Tai Chi over in Taiwan. So it's the Temple of the 18 Lohan. And it's been an interesting read so far. So this book is unpublished, but I actually got my hands on a copy of the book, and I made copies so that I could share it with the community. Because when I was reading the book, I just started coming across so many gems, and just looking at the lifestyle and some of the stories that Sifu was telling, it kind of helps me to embrace Tai Chi just a little bit more, you know. And I'll certainly encourage anyone that studies the Temple Tai Chi to definitely jump in and find out more about Sifu Ron. It is our lineage, right? So picking up from where we were on last Sunday, I'm going to read this last little page that we went over. I thought it was very interesting. It's basically Sifu reaching out to the universe and just humbling himself. He's like surrendering to the universe and asking for help as a teacher and just as a person. He says, sometimes I speak but really don't know what I say at first. So sometimes he opened his mouth and really don't know where it came from or what he said. He says, yes, I guess I am a child of the universe. I guess I do not know right from left, how to turn and how to make the right words leave my mouth. So I would say that's pretty humbling, right? He says, oh, how I wish the universe would make me one with it again. So knowing that at one point we were all one with the universe and we just started to get away a bit because of our societal norms and things of that sort. But he says, it is hard to make people understand life when I do not know the 10,000 things around me. So my perspective on this is, with him saying that sometimes he opens his mouth. So Sifu was a teacher, and I guess he's just saying, if he don't really know himself, how can he give up information, or how can he be a guide to other people when he really don't understand what he's doing himself? So I guess he's like looking in the mirror and asking for answers. He says, I must have help from above and below in order to make the teachings of you great masters come to life again. So he's talking about bringing forth the teachings of the great masters, saying that he needs help from above and below. Some people might get that a little misunderstood. To me, he's saying help from the heavens and also help from the earth, below. So we look at earth as being a breathing, living entity as well. People think of the earth or what's below the earth, and they get in the spiritual mindset and start thinking about evil and good, but that's not what we're talking about in this context. He says, I need to be nursed like a young child again. I would say he's definitely reaching out for some help, asking for help, right? I need to be nursed like a young child again. And when he was there at the temple, he was 28 years old when he first went. So I would say that's take a pretty strong person to reach out and humble themselves and just know that they need help. Bear in mind, coming from Chicago, busy city, fast lifestyle, going to the temple of 18 Lohan, out in the middle of who knows where, right? Out in the middle. I think I'm in the boonies. I am not in the boonies, right? They had no vehicles. There was nothing out there. There was just nothing out there. So he says, "O mother of 10,000 things, give me 3." Check this out, family. We read this last time. He says, "Give me 3 and 6, which make 9." He says, not 10. So bear in mind, he's asked the universe for help, right? But he's also letting the universe know, although I need your help, I don't want you to do it all for me. Give me 3 and 6. That makes 9. Not 10. I can take it from 9. So that's what I'm getting from that. You know, he's not looking for you to do it for him. He's just looking for a little guidance, a little light. He says, I do not know how to talk, how to smile, how to laugh anymore. I would say there's some pain in there, some hurt, some issues in the tissues. He's always said that he was dealing with some spiritual demons. He mentioned that. I didn't know that he was dealing with those demons in the earlier parts of his life when he was a young man. I didn't know. He would say he was very angry. So I guess that would be a demonic spirit for sure. But he also, when Sifu was on his deathbed, he said to me personally, he says, Lao Tzu, he says, I was a teacher at that time, which I still am, but Lao Tzu was teacher. Now I'm Sifu, which is a little bit more progressive, right? So he says, Lao Tzu, he says, when I go through my hardest times, which he was talking about in that present time, he was going through some stuff because he had leukemia, right? He says, everybody turns their back on me. He says, when I'm dealing with my demons, everybody turns their back on me. So he was dealing with some really, really hard times. And I'll tell you what happened to Sifu. One thing that happened, I think it was a turning part in his life. It was a big turning part. And I really feel bad about it because he did it really for us, for the students. Sifu was in his 60s and he started taking up judo. 60-something maybe, you know. And he started taking up judo and going in as a white belt, no ego. And the reason that he was going into judo was so that he could learn more about the judo, the locks and stuff, so that he could teach us how to deal with that type of energy. Well, that was quite honorable on his part. And long story short, Sifu accidentally had his neck broken while he was taking class from the master of the school, who was his friend, who he spoke very highly of. What happened was Sifu simply fell wrong and he fractured one of the vertebrae in his neck. And if you look at some of his old videos, you'll see his head start to protrude. He never gave up on his Tai Chi. But what happened, while making his recovery, they put him on those darn painkillers, man. They put him on those darn painkillers. And I say that because I've seen it happen to other people as well. Especially if you had an issue with drugs in your younger years and they put you on those pharmaceuticals. It happened to my dad. He told me the same thing. He said, son, I've gotten addicted to these painkillers. I got to go cold turkey. I got to get off of them. This was my dad speaking. Well, it wasn't so easy for Sifu Ron. He told me the same thing. He says, man, I've gotten back addicted on another drug. He said, and this one's coming from the white coat. talking about the pharmacy. And he says, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And he was struggling for a while. He was struggling for a while to get off of those painkillers. And although he did get off of them, I think they took a great toll on his life at the end of his life. So I just thought I'd share that with you, because talking about him dealing with demons, so that was a demon that came back to life again, that he had actually crushed and put away. But because he hurt himself and he went into the hospital and he started getting fed that stuff, all of it just resurfaced right back in his life. So all those years of hard work kind of went down the drain. And he did not die a happy life. You know, he was suffering at the end of his life. He was not, I've seen people die in different states. Some people seem like they just like kind of like at peace. He wasn't at peace. And I just think it was unfair. And a lot of people turned their back on him. Even some of his closest students, they weren't there for him at the end. And it's pretty sad, you know. I was there. I went to see Sifu one time, and he was pretty bad off, and I had to work with him energetically to bring him back around, me and another student. It was pretty bad. But anyway, let's move on. He says, there's no real meaning to it anymore. So now it's kind of like he feels like he's kind of giving up on life again. He says, just haste that stops my waste from moving in the right direction. Something else Sifu was said too. He says everybody's running around, busy doing nothing. And what he meant by that was, although you may be doing things that seem like it's being progressive in this physical form, what is it doing for us spiritually? You know? And that's kind of what I think he's expressing here. You know, running around, busy doing this and that, but not really moving his waist in the right direction. He says, show me the ways to immortality. He was serious about his spiritual quest. Show me the ways to immortality. O great masters of the universe, God or gods or goddesses, whatever it may be. If I am granted such a request, I will do more your good bidding from now till death. Is this real Tai Chi? And then he puts in quotations, Tai Chi talking to the air, Sifu Ron talking to the air. So he was pondering on some heavy stuff here, wouldn't you say? And those of you who weren't here prior or previously, he even talked about, and this was new to me, so I'm finding out more and more about Sifu Ron and disrespecting him more and more, respecting him more and more. When he was at the temple, he attempted to run away twice, like trying to escape from jail, you know. I'm laughing because it just goes to show you, when you put yourself in that deep mind practice like that, it can be pretty trying. I seen people personally, hey, welcome to the chat, Ralph. I seen people personally in short 2-day retreats. Short, 2-day. No talking for 2 days. And those people go absolutely nuts in those 2 days. They can't handle it. A lot of them leave the retreat. They run away. So imagine being out in the middle of Temple 18 Lohan, in the middle of the woods somewhere, where all you do is chop wood and carry water. It's freezing, and you're living in a little shack with no utilities, no toilet, no lights, no water. Can you imagine? You might want to run away too. But he knew the purpose, that he knew that if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it. And I look at life the same way. You know, we come up with these challenges in life, and I always say that I don't wish for an easier life. I wish for a path that's going to make me into the person that I aspire to be. And if we're looking for an easy life, we ain't aspiring to be much. That would just be average. And if you look at the average person right now, not to compare ourselves, but average is really not anything to be really proud of. It's like you just kind of went through the motions. You know what I'm saying? You have no daily routine. You have no Tai Chi practice. How you doing, Ralph? Good to see you, brother. So now we're going to move forward. That was some stuff that we talked about on our last meeting, and I just wanted to go back over that because I thought that had some heavy hitting stuff in it. This one starts off even heavier, I would say. And remember, I told you I kind of cheated. I kind of read ahead, and I kind of wish I didn't because it kind of got me. I couldn't even understand what I was reading. So I'm glad you all are here so we can break this thing down together. So I'm asking you, help me break this thing down because I'm looking for clarity. He says, make less moves. No, first off, let me back up. At the very top, it says understanding of self. All right. Everything else falls below that. Understanding of self. He says, make less moves. I'm going to let that settle in. Make less power. To give less. Now, this is what threw me off. He says to give less. And then he has a word spelled C-H-I-N-G. Anybody know what he's getting at here? To give less ching is to give up more self, is what he wrote. To give less ching is to give up more self. Can anybody pick me up on that? Anything at all? Is that a misspelling? C-H-I-N-G? Is that another way to spell the word in a different dialect? To give less ching is to give up more self. I'll read the sentence after that. Maybe it'll bring more understanding. He says, understand. Go ahead.
Could it be he meant to spell it, or the spelling is Jing, J-I-N-G?
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
I have seen translations of the I Ching spelled Y-I-J or I-T-H, so probably, translation issue.
That's what I was thinking. I'm thinking it's just a different translation. So Dawei was saying, could the C-H-I-N-G be J-I-N-G, which is Jing? So let's replace it with that, just to see if it makes sense to us. He says to give less Jing is to give up more self. Now that makes sense to me if it was Jing. So Jing, for those who don't know what Jing is, this is what it is to me. So Jing is like, I say our life force energy. It's our life force energy. And for men, we talk about it being our semen, right? The essence of life itself. So that would be an example of Jing. So to give less Jing is to give up more self. He says this, understand self by your desire and protect by accepting the misfortune as physical. He blew my mind on those three sentences. Way over my head.
Read that again.
Yeah, I'm going to have to because I told you, I couldn't digest this. He says, understand self by your desire and protect by accepting the misfortune as physical. Poof. It doesn't ring at all for me. We sitting all in the same boat.
The part about giving less Jing is giving more self. That seems completely opposite.
Exactly.
You're giving more, so, are you still spinning on that, or is
I'm swinging on all of that, Dawei. My head is just gone. So just because I know Sifu and I know how he talks, he would oftentimes say that everything is inside out and upside down. So I'm kind of looking at this from that perspective, if that makes sense.
Would Jing be equal to ego?
Give up less Jing is to give up more self. Would you want to give up less ego?
To go free.
And to give
Yourself.
is to give up more self. I don't know, man. I don't know, Dan. I really don't, man. It really got.
Could we switch the parameter a little bit and say that if he's saying self, is he saying little self with a little s or self with a big S? Because if it's the self with a little s,
It's definitely.
that kind of makes sense. So that kind of ties into what Dan was saying about the ego.
Right. I know what would help if I could find out the CHING word. I got to find out what that means. So maybe he's definitely talking about ego, Dan.
Well, the closer to ego, the further you are from self, I would think.
Right. That makes sense. So let's move on to this. He says empty. Well, here we go. Maybe he's going to answer it for us, Lester. He says, empty yourself of every thought. Okay. Empty yourself of every thought. Forget being proud of self or dissatisfied with self. He was talking about ego, wasn't he? He says, what's that?
I just looked it up, and Qing can be represented by several different characters, such as Qing, which is Qing, which is meaning clear or pure, or Qing, which is another different spelling meaning please or to invite. One means to celebrate.
I don't know, for some reason.
One means a surname, so you know what? It's probably one of those things where it does get lost to the martial Chinese.
Yes.
Because non-martial, even native speakers can't speak martial Chinese.
Tell me about it. I live with one.
I'm a tell.
No, but for real, our Tai Chi jargon is like a different language to native speakers of like Mandarin and Cantonese. It just don't, there's no direct, even in that, I'm like, now how'd that happen? Crazy. It happened. He says, understand self as same, yet stop or attempt through meditation, message through air. Now he's talking real crazy now. Understand self as same, yet stop or attempt through meditation, message through air. Another
Are
one.
you saying understand self as same? S-A-M-E?
Yep. Understand self as same, S-A-M-E, yes. And then he says, yet stop or attempt through meditation, message through air. Anybody pick up anything on that?
Would air refer to the ether we talked about a week or two ago?
That's what I'm thinking, Dan. Yeah, that direct connect with the ether, with the source. Some people call it the Akashic Record. Some people call it Tao. Some people call it Prana. Some people call it Chi. That's what I'm thinking. He says, bring spiritual message to connect with air. Connect to nature, your navel or Dantian. He says, give up your wants to repel in order to produce negative properties inside self. I got lost on that. Bring spiritual message to connect with air. I got that. Everybody got that, right? And then he says, connect to nature with your navel or Dantian. So Master Liao oftentimes talk about this. This is a very important thing, I think, for sure. He talks about our connection to our original life force energy coming from Dantian, lower Dantian. And he mentions that our original life force energy first comes in through our umbilical cord. That's when we first receive that energy. He says that's where that feeling resides. And we can wake that feeling up with our attention, by paying attention, That's why he says that the Chinese martial arts put so much attention on the lower dantian. One of the reasons, anyway, is so that we can reawaken that life force energy, that feeling. And then once we wake that feeling up, we can begin to exercise that feeling more, and we can practice and work with that feeling, and we can rejuvenate that energy, that life force energy. That's my practice. That's my practice for sure. He says that this will produce a vacuum to suck up all positive powers of the universe like a magnet. So he would oftentimes, Master Liao and Sifu, they will make the analogy, like I was just mentioning, that we're connected to the universe. So he would say the small self, right? Small self. And then the large self, or the big self, is the universe outside of us. And we connect to that through this energy center, no longer physical, because it wasn't an umbilical cord, it was cut off. But we're still connected there energetically to the whole, to the universal self. So we have the self, the small self, and then we have the universal self. So that's how I understand that. And he goes on here to talk even more about it. He says this will produce the vacuum. So that vacuum, to me, I always think about the one time that I had to siphon some gasoline. I didn't have to, I wanted to. Siphon some gasoline out of a vehicle to put into a lawnmower. That siphoning effect. So you suck on the, we were using a water hose. And then if you don't move your mouth, that gasoline is going to come in and burn your mouth, right? So that's what happened to the old man that was teaching me how to siphon gas. He didn't take his mouth away fast enough. That gas went in his mouth and burned his mouth. Man, is that crazy or what? Yeah, I remember that. But I learned how to siphon gas that day. And I did it once after that, and I'm like, this is just way too dangerous. So that makes me think of this analogy. There's a siphoning effect. I talked to friends and students about when you get into the deep meditative breathing, right? Although we're able to breathe consciously and unconsciously, I say there's another way of breathing, a third way of breathing. And that's what Sifu is explaining here, that siphoning effect, where you're actually, this is how it happened for me. You're actually witnessing this breathing process take place because you slow down your breath so much that it comes to a point where you're no longer required to use your diaphragmatic muscles or your intercostal muscles or anything like that, because the air pressure on the outside of your body and the inside of your body, they come into a certain balance. And once they reach that balance, it's like a siphoning effect. The air goes in and out automatically. And I remember the first time that thing happened, I say it happened to me, which it didn't happen to me. I thought something was happening to me. It scared the crap out of me. And then I went back and told Sifu about it. He started laughing. He says, what happened? You ran away from it, didn't you? I said, I sure did. I said, I thought I was dying, man. He said, no, you weren't dying. He said, you were breathing without breathing. And he says, there's another level of breathing when they call it like Taoist breathing, a whole body breathing. And I just accidentally slipped into that manner of breathing, and it scared me, man. And then after I found out that it was perfectly okay and it was normal, I started chasing it. So I started trying to make it happen. And Sifu warned me. He says, don't try to make it happen. He said, because it's not going to happen. It'll just run away from you. And he was right. For a year or so, maybe 2 years, I was still chasing it, wanting that feeling to happen again so I could see where it take me at again. He warned me. He says, maybe it never needs to happen again. And if you're chasing it, you're wasting your time. He says, what you want to do is you want to recreate the conditions that cause that to happen. Recreate those conditions again, and then it'll happen naturally. And after about 2 years of chasing, it began to happen whenever I had my deep meditations. And that's the breathing without breathing. That's the deep Dantian breathing that one day you'll be looking at me and you'll be saying, I remember when Lester told me about that. And then you won't have to be afraid like I did. You won't run away from it.
Well, in some circles, the skin itself. Our skin is considered the third lung.
Yes, I've heard of that before. Because if you think about our skin, it's very pore. It has pores everywhere, right? So just according to our teaching that we think we can only breathe through our nose and our mouth, but as we know, science is always changing, right? And I think those old Taoists way back in the day, they knew a lot more about the body than we do, or knew the body from a different perspective because they studied it from a different perspective. You know? I've even heard this, and we'll move on. I've even heard that the heart itself is not actually a pump. That the heart is basically a chamber, and that our lungs are the pumps. And the pneumatic pressure from the lungs cause the blood to circulate.
And the calves are like a second heart because they pump it up.
No, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. The calves are like 3 hearts because we have 2 calves and 1 heart. I made that up.
So they're saying that the blood is constantly vortexing through the veins.
Yeah.
So it's the chi pushing the blood. It's not some physical force pushing it. It's going.
It's not being pumped per se, but it's just because of the way that the blood cells maneuver. Like you said, there's a vortex, and that vortex creates the movement. That makes a lot more sense to me, but they would say that we're a little bit weird or strange or something, if we take that to Western science, right? Western medicine. They would probably kick us out of the room. Let me go into this right here. So he talked about the vacuum, and I just talked about the breathing without breathing. And he says, picking up where we left off at, produce void. Produce Tao. Produce Tao, he says again. Then he says, produce understanding. Understanding will give you help through everyday life. Give yourself a chance of the true gift of life. Everybody picking that up? Produce void. How do you produce void? How do you produce Tao? I would say these are states of mind and states of consciousness. Produce understanding. So my theory on understanding is we really don't understand anything without immersing ourselves into it. Not just consciously, but physically. We have to have an experience. We have to put some energy into it. And then there's different levels of understanding, I always say. I say we have understanding, where the knowledge is still above us. So understanding here. And then the knowledge is still above us. So we're still looking up at the knowledge. We don't quite own it yet. We kind of got a little mental understanding, right? But we hadn't physically put ourselves into it yet. It's kind of like graduating from college with a degree, but you don't have the hands-on experience yet. That's understanding. And then understanding is, okay, you graduated, and now you work your intern, and now you're getting your hands dirty. And now you're starting to own the knowledge. It's starting to become yours. So that's understanding. And then overstanding would be, hey, you mastered it. You mastered it, but you still haven't stopped. You're still going because you know that there's another level of mastery. And I kind of think that's how Tai Chi is. You know, people gather a whole lot of book knowledge. Sifu will make a joke sometime about one of my Tai Chi sisters because she was smart. She knew everything about the culture, everything you could think of about it, and the language and all that. And Sifu would always say, if you want to know many things, ask your sister Jenny. She knows many things. He says, but if you want to know Tai Chi, you're talking to the right person. Yeah, man, he was a character, I tell you. He says she knows many things, making fun of her, you know, without making fun of her. He says, let's go on here. We'll be finishing a little bit, family. Understanding will give you help through everyday life. We understand that. He says, give yourself a chance of the true gift of life. I wanted to piggyback off that because, you know, I've been thinking about this. You know, some people says, man, he or she got the opportunity of a lifetime. I say we all have the opportunity of a lifetime. Because lifetime is the opportunity. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We wake up with this breath, that's the opportunity. No matter how grim or how bleak it may seem, that's your opportunity to make it just a little bit better. So I don't look at people talking about, man, he got the lifetime of opportunity of a lifetime. No, we all do. Now, what do we choose to do with it? That's what really matters. You know, do we choose to sit around and do nothing, or do we have a daily routine that's building us and helping us be that little bit better than we were yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself a chance of a true gift of life. Gifts come from giving, not from asking or receiving. Sifu would oftentimes say this, and it sticks with me. He says, son, in this world, we have givers and takers. He says, best to be a giver than a taker. To receive comes from not owning or showing or boasting. Yet you should tell truth even if it becomes ugliness. So live by truth. I love that. Live by truth. It's the only thing that lasts the test of time. He says, even when you give good benefits to all, they see witchcraft. I don't know where he's going. Let me read this again. Even when you give good benefits to all, they see witchcraft because of your truth and true character. I guess I've been down that road before. I've been called a what did this old man call me? Talking about my daddy now. My dad came down to South Florida. He walked into my house, man, and he thought he was in a voodoo witchcraft lab. He called me a voodoo Taoist. I never heard of such a thing. He says, because he saw my Tai Chi sign. This is to, my dad coming from a Christian background, not understanding anything about. I had this beautiful statue here that Sister Pam gave me, a Buddha, not understanding any of this stuff. And I had these beautiful black wooden handcrafted statues of these women. And it was showing the women's big, beautiful lips, African women. Their breast was shown, and it was cut off right below the breast, these statues. But it was just showing the fullness of these women, their lips, their facial features. They had these ears with the big holes in them. He thought I was around there stirring pots, man, and throwing witchcraft stuff in. And now check this out. To make it even worse, family, you guys know I'm into my herbs, right? So I got jars of herbs and stuff around there. He's like, what's this? And what's He thought I was brewing up a secret witchcraft around that boy. He was not understanding my lifestyle. So I see what Seafood's headed at on this. People sometimes, they don't get it. They don't get it.
Anything that they don't understand is labeled as weird or strange.
Right. He said I was.
Instead of I don't understand, I don't get it. It's different. It's not weird or strange.
That's true. You don't get it. You don't understand it because you haven't been exposed to it.
And you won't allow yourself because you're afraid. You're
afraid of the unknown. And I totally dig it. And knowing about real voodoo, because I have friends who are voodoo priests.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong with voodoo. It's just if it gets in the wrong hands, it can be dangerous.
Just like anything else.
Just like anything else. Any good religion can be turned into something bad.
And it was.
And it was. And it was also used for good because the people in Haiti used it to defend their whole nation. And I don't see nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? They refused to bow down. And they use the supernatural powers, which are not really supernatural. They're there for all of us. Yep. They're there for all of us to tap into. And now, if you're an evil person, check this out. And somebody's trying to do you harm, you're going to say that person's evil. because they're trying to do you harm. No matter how good you are. You get what I'm saying? You're going to see that person as being evil. But no, it's you. It's you. So Sifu says that as Tai Chi Ren or Tai Chi people, right? Our number one, our living model is to help, and cause no harm. So if you can live by that, how can you ever go wrong? How can you be a voodoo, whatever he called me? You know what I'm saying? You can't, because I'm always about being a helper and doing no harm. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm also a warrior and a protector, and I do believe in helping the innocent and those who cannot help themselves. So take that how it comes. You can see it as being evil, but I will use everything I have to take care of my loved ones. And I think we all should do that. Let me move on, and we're going to wrap it up. I keep losing my place here. Even when you give good benefits. Okay, right here. Even when you give good benefits, like I just said, to all, they see witchcraft because of your truth and your true character. Think about this. Think about all those people back in the day, those, I think it was mostly women, who were getting hung at the cross and stuff like that. They were just regular, what would they be seen today as? Herbalists. People who were doing herbalists and body work and healers, people who were laying hands, they were being seen as being evil. But in reality, the people who were hanging them, they knew they weren't evil. They just saw them as being a threat. So they wanted to get rid of them. So right here it says, give emptiness, and then he puts in quotation, void a chance. So give emptiness a chance. He says, then no speak. I don't know what he means by that. He says, then no speak, no sickness, no negative power or positive power will tip your chi. Okay, I get it. So no matter what people say, no sickness or illness, no negative can touch you because your chi field is so strong. We talk about our Wei chi field. That's our protective chi field. We all have it. He says, make self the same. Make self understand mission that comes every day. To become a dragon in the wind is to become a dragon in the wind is to befriend the universe. Befriend the universe. I want to add something on that, family. Check this out. Here's a very common thing that people say. And I'm sure you heard it before. And it can have different meanings. So oftentimes people will say, I'm from this world, but I'm not of this world. Who hadn't heard that before? I used to say the same thing. I'm like, I'm from this world, but I'm not of this world. And I kind of dig it. I still kind of dig it. But I also look at it from the flip side. And now I say, I actually shared this with Dan and Pam the other day. I say, I'm from this world and I am of this world. Meaning that there's no disconnect between me and that tree right there. There's no disconnect between me and this earth below my feet. Or any other sentient on this platform. And I think, or I know by acknowledging that relationship with self and the universal self, the universal chi, that empowers me. Because it has to be bigger than me. It has to be bigger than me. And if I'm saying I'm not of it, I just tore up the contract. I just isolated myself. Now it's just little old me now. Ain't no power in that. Ain't no power in that. So I just start thinking and saying things differently. When I hear common things that are said, I kind of like, I got to toss them around and rethink them and see how those things, how do they relate to me? Instead of just spitting out something that other people are saying, because it could be causing you some harm. More harm than good.
So when he was saying make yourself void or become comfortable with void or whatever he said, I think that's what he meant. In my mind, I see it as getting rid of everything, all the preconceived ideas or beliefs and paradigms that were passed along to you along the way. Become empty.
Mm-hmm.
Get to know yourself.
Right. And as Dan said earlier, you got to get that ego out of the way.
Right.
No enemy, no self. He says, make self the same. Make self understand mission that comes every day. To become a dragon in the wind is to befriend the universe, strengthen the spirit, and never let it be used up by the senses. We should talk about this and then finish here, because I think that's very relevant right now. Probably always has been. And since we're talking about ego, and Sifu's talking about strengthening the spirit and never and never be used by the senses. So here we are in this 3D existence, and we have our senses, right? Our 5 senses, our 5 main senses that they talk about. Think about how people can be used up and how their energy is being depleted, because we only have a certain amount of energy, whether you realize it or not. So Master gives a example that I really, really like. It's very simple. And he talks about existence itself in the human form. How we come into existence. How we start off as a singular cell. And how that cell begins to just duplicate and turn into not only a cell, but into a cellular system. Right? And then that cellular system turns into another cellular system. And before you know it, we have a whole human being. So we're starting from the center, singular cell, and we're constantly going out. Everything is going out, going out, going out, going out. Even our senses. When we listen, when we see, when we smell, when we taste, when we touch, all of those things are going out. Although we bring them back in, we go out to receive them some way or another. But we're constantly going out. Very rarely do anyone, only a select few I would say, set aside time to bring themselves back in. And that would be our practice right there, family. That's one of the strong points of our practice. Because when we begin to come back in, we begin to pay attention to our internal environment, right? Introspection. That's where we grow from. We grow from the inside out, not from the outside in. If we keep going out, I can see Sifu right now. Everybody's reaching and grasping, looking outside for answers, reaching and grasping. He says, no, we got to reflect. We got to go back in. We got to turn everything around. He says we got to put it in reverse, and that's what he means by that. To rejuvenate means to put it back together again, to reformulate, to reverse it. So that's what we're doing. Everything is up.
Tai Chi and meditation is all about?
For us, it is.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it most definitely is. To reverse back to that original life force essence that's connected at the Dantian. That original feeling. We want to wake that up. Make it strong again. It's getting dimmer and dimmer. The more we go out, the weaker it gets. Just like that incandescent light bulb right there, right? Compared to a laser. A laser is sharp. Incandescent is spread out. It's weak. It burns a lot of energy, but it doesn't give you much from that energy usage. That laser cut right through. More refined, more concentrated. That's why we want to concentrate our forms and go slow and look inside and take our time and be in that space. The longer we're in that space, the more we can purify, the more we can condense the energy, the more we can strengthen our energy signal. That's why I practice. Anyway, family, I think that's a good place to stop. Anybody want to piggyback off of that? I picked up some gems, some things that had me scratching my head that I couldn't answer by myself. So I certainly thank you all for being here today. Thank you for coming.
It's interesting that I'm kind of experiencing a similar thing where, I've spent so much time trying to build things, for other people with, of course, what we do, but it just keeps on coming back that most people can't even see it. Quit focusing out there, go inside. So
You got to go inside. Even if you have what I call a mastermind group, everybody in the mastermind group got to be on the same page. They have to know. We have to know our reason for coming together as a mastermind. And first of all, we have to have something to bring to the table, and that is whole. We got to come whole. Like Sifu said right here in the beginning, he was asking for help from the universe because he didn't feel whole. He didn't feel like he had the answers to bring to the table. Now that takes quite a bit of humility to realize that I got to isolate myself and get some answers. And I say when we go into those dark spaces, I say dark, meaning basically thinking of like a seed before a seed sprouts, right? Before that seed sprouts, it's dark inside. And once the environment is correct, it begins to grow, to fruit, to blossom into a plant. So I'm looking at myself right now in my current state. I'm that seed again, back inside the dark space. I like to go back in periodically, time to level up again, to grow. And I look at you all as being part of the mastermind group, because we all have similar type of understandings and we understand the journey. I'll talk about this and we're out of here, since Darwin mentioned that. So when it comes to growing with others, and I mentioned this before, I have a little thing that I break down. I call it 4 pillars of success. I think I mentioned this last time. I call it 4 pillars of success. Number 1 being brotherhood, sisterhood, the coming together as we have today. Number 2 being scholarship, meaning that we all bring together something that is unique to ourselves, that is beneficial to the community. I bring Tai Chi. Several of us bring Tai Chi. You may bring Qigong. You may bring whatever it is about you that you bring. But we all bring something to the table. Manhood or brotherhood, sisterhood, scholarship. And then number 3, this is a big one. And number 3 can only be done by ourselves. This is perseverance. Perseverance. We have to persevere, because if the challenge is going to be big, there are going to be some big obstacles that come along the way. And we just have to know that we can see it through. And then the 4th one, this is where the team come into effect. This is the mastermind. This is where we reach down and we pick each other up. This is the uplift. This is where Sifu said, okay, give me 3, give me 6, give me 9, but don't give me 10. I can get it from there. I got it. So we reach back and we pick each other up. And I say, if you look for those 4 things right there, or if you look at any successful relationship, when I say relationship, it could be a successful business. It could be a successful relationship between 2 individuals. It can be a successful relationship between the cells in your body. They all go by those 4 pillars. You're going to see those 4 pillars. They're going to be there.
So you're saying the 4th pillar is relationship?
4th pillar is uplift.
Oh, uplift.
Yeah. Unlike most crabs in the basket, yeah, we reach back and we pull each other up. Yeah. Brotherhood, scholarship, brotherhood, you can say sisterhood, the unity of man and woman. The greatest Tai Chi ever. Scholarship, the sharing of knowledge, sharing of information, openly sharing, giving. Perseverance. You got to persevere, family. You got to persevere. You got to do that on your own. We all got to do that on our own. But we don't turn our backs on you. When you fall down like they did on Sifu, you reach back and you pick them up. 4 levels. 4 pillars. Thank you all, family. Right back at you. This is Tai Chi Chicken Daddy, Seafood Chicken Daddy, checking in and checking out with another one of our table talks. And I would encourage you, family, if you have not already registered at the Patreon so that you can join our next table talk, go ahead over there and register, family. Leave a message below if you don't know the website, and I'm happy to share it with you. Now, by joining our Patreon as a free member, you're not only going to get access to our table talks, you're going to get access to a lot more content, and I'll say most importantly, you get access to our free Saturday class to take place at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's beginning Tai Chi. Don't be misunderstood, or don't misunderstand what I'm saying when I say beginning Tai Chi. Because beginning Tai Chi is not only for beginners, it's for everybody. I say that with emphasis. It's for the new, it's for the old. Because there's always something that we can share inside of beginning Tai Chi. And it's more of just coming together and training together. The brotherhood, the sisterhood, the unity, more than anything. So I look forward to seeing you next Sunday at the same time. And once again, it's Tai Chi Chicken Daddy, Seafood Chicken Daddy, checking in and checking out with another magnificent Tai Chi Table Talk. You're right back at you. What kind of tea you sipping on, family? Goji berries and rose petals. Goji berries and rose petals. Right back at you.